Hello guys, Sis here once again. Now I am sure all of you know about the video game Team Fortress 2, right? I myself used to be a fan of it. However, I am trying to quit enjoying games like TF2, as no one should play games where the main derivement of joy is from killing people. Seriously guys, we really shouldn't be promoting or playing such games. Anyways, Team Fortress 2, despite not being at the peak of its popularity anymore, still has an active community, especially on YouTube, and there are many individuals who are extremely bad, like Pyrocynical, for example. But today, I will cover two YouTubers who are rather obscure and do things which, while not too severe, I still frown down upon. The two being covered are both Zesty Jesus and the 240 twerkers. But before I start, I believe that it is imperative to mention how 240 twerkers, like the name suggests, is not a single titular twerker but rather a collective. And all I know is the main self-admitted director and cameraman of the twerkers is responsible for the stuff in this video, which I find disgusting. And I will just assume it was a joined collective decision by all four or more of the 240 twerkers, if I am correct. And one more thing, if you came to this video assuming I hold hatred for the two, you would be wrong since I am trying to have less hate, as it is a sin. Especially if it was for such ridiculous and untrue claims like me disliking the fact that the two are right-wing or like Stone Toss. Speaking of Stone Toss, I only have two issues with him. Some of his comics are very suggestive and strange, and when he quote-unquote mocked the suicide of that one transvestite bridge jumper, I don't think we should mock such events, but feel remorse as this was a mentally unwell man who was led astray by bad actors and radicalized into suicidal death cults. Or how Zesty thinks transvestites shouldn't go against women in sports, which he is absolutely right about. And it was absurd how insane TF2 fans doxed him and his family because he spoke the truth. And also I have a scary theory of Zesty being a transvestite, since he always uses that disgusting, suggestive thing in his profile pictures, making it a part of his identity along with having a furry image of that thing be made. So perhaps he may be a transvestite furry, which is extremely worrying. Let's start right off quick with how both Zesty and 240 may be addicted to suggestive imagery, as they upload it quite often. In one thumbnail of a video from 240 twerkers titled Fighting TF2's Most Insane Furry, there is extremely, and I mean extremely suggestive furry images that are being used, and am not joking when I say do not look for this video, you will be disgusted. Then, for a recent YouTube short, they uploaded heavy inflation videos made with Sora Eye, and most of the community posts feature a disgusting Goonerslop thing that is most often associated with Zesty Jesus. I couldn't decide whether to call it his succubus or tulpa. So I asked ChatGPT to combine the two words, and got a new word called tulpacubus, which I shall use from now on. The thing is, back last year, 240 twerkers criticized Zesty for having such imagery. However, unfortunately, it seems that 240 twerkers now is in on the tulpacubus posting now, which is sad. Speaking of such material, I must go on an important rant on such stuff. Lust and self-pleasure is a horrible sin, and it will lead to destruction just like all sins, especially when it comes to creating such tulpacubus. But this doesn't mean you should sin to real-life material, because you should not commit such vile acts of self-pleasure in any circumstance. Only making love to a real woman after marriage is acceptable, and yes, you heard me right. Even premarital fornication is a sin, so don't do that either. So, to Zesty and 240 twerkers, please stop creating and worshipping tulpacubi, as it will lead to destruction and downfall. Instead, pursue and invest into real relationships with real women and start families, not such abysmal lust acts like I've mentioned. Anyways, I'm done with my rant on to the next topics. There is more overtly suggestive stuff like the constant gay fornication jokes, Mimi Sentry Corn, which is one of the unfunniest jokes for lust addicts that think they have double X chromosomes, despite being born with XY chromosomes. There is a thumbnail, which features Femme Pyro, a personal favorite, of Pyrocynical. Then there are some reference to Omegatronic Corn, which is an unfunny joke from r/TF2, who, like all Redditors, are undergoing a mind reprogramming operation to brainwash and normalize lust and all their horrible fetishes. But I must say I did laugh a few times at the Omegatronic pregnancy video. But that does not excuse anything whatsoever. The idea of a male or inanimate object being pregnant is absurd, ridiculous, and disgusting, and enabling the fantasies or desires of the people who endorse such stuff is sinful and wrong. There is one instance where 240 twerkers was using diaper baby furry fetish imagery. However, this video is from multiple years ago, and it is possible they regret it. However, this is still something that must be called out. Oh, and also he made an extremely pedophilic quote-unquote joke about children. I don't think I can even show what it says. But 240, why would you think such stuff is funny? Seriously concerning behavior. Now on to the hypocrisy of 240 twerkers. In his video titled, TF2 is a punishment for autistic people by God, which is a rant video about how the only people who play TF2 are either transvestite autists or edgelord autists.
The game has been remolded by God. Not even God. The devil has shaped this game into being an arena for autistic people to deathmatch in. It doesn't matter, because the only people who play this game is autistic retards. So either you're an autistic trans person or you're an autistic edgelord. So they're just going to be fighting forever in the halls of this dead-ass game, and forced to play this buggy mess that is just day after day infested with slop and garbage updates. It doesn't matter. If you exist for being trans, you're getting kicked. You exist for not being trans and just being an autistic loser like everyone else, you're kicked by them.
And he also proceeds to complain about how the game messes his computer up. Dude, the solution is literally clear as day, just quit the game, and also calling everyone who plays the game autists is hypocritic, considering your entire channel is centered around the game. However, I do fully agree with some of the things you say in this video about how the players are not so good. I also guess there is something about hashtag save TF2 or scrap TF, which is probably a scam website. And honestly, if you ask me, I fully support shutting down TF2 servers. In fact, no. Not just that. I think every country in the world should either ban video games, TV, and adult material, or implement a mandatory screen time limit like in China. Except instead of being some communist hellhole, the entire world is an orthodox, nationalist, authoritarian paradise that has mandatory health camps, so fat people will cease to exist since they would be legally required to not be fat. And on the topic of obesity, a rather strange and honestly repulsive recurring joke in 2-Fort twerker videos that have a face cam is either related to having a fat stomach, vor, or inflation. For those of you who do not know what that is, I strongly advise you to not search anything pertaining to what that is up, as it is disgusting. 2-Fort twerkers, please stop shoving your pillow stomach in the camera in your face. Cam videos the joke, if you can even call it that, is not funny. It's just strange content. Now I will discuss the constant Rick May jokes, in the video titled, "The TF2 Community Doesn't Care About Rick May." 2-Fort twerker goes into an in-depth rant on how people in the TF2 community only care about Rick May for his performance as soldier and not for who he actually was. Along with using his death to advertise gambling or sell sites, whatever it was, I honestly forgot. And you know what? He is completely correct. But my one critique is that it feels more so that he picks fun at Rick May, rather than the people milking his death for views. Oh, and one more thing, 2-Fort twerkers may unironically like Digital Circus. That is really cringe. So now, I am finished. However, I have one more thing to say to both Zesty and 2-Fort twerkers. To Zesty, I tell you this first. The most important thing to do is that you must stop blaspheming the name of the Lord by associating it with your brand centered around your tulpacubus. I mean, no offense, but you don't even look like Jesus. That much. Delete all the imagery you have of your tulpacubus on your devices, and if you have anything physical of that abomination, of perverted delusions, just burn it. Also, quit TF2 and prioritize your oil rig job. Instead of wasting time on long videos on TF2 weapons, you wouldn't want to anymore, like Pyrocynical, would you? And also, like I said before, pursue a real relationship with a real woman and put an end to your tulpacubus acts, like I mentioned. Then for Mr. 2-Fort twerker, I have this to say. Do you really want to waste your time on a video game that brings you emotional turmoil, let alone any game? Since all video games are a waste of time, do you really want to keep uploading and including such vile material? How would you feel if your little brother or other family members saw such stuff? I'm sure you wouldn't want them to know about such stuff, but there is one person who knows about everything you are doing, and that person is Jesus Christ. No, not Zesty Jesus, but the real Jesus. I will include you among with all my fellow sinners in my prayers, and with that, this video is concluded. Remember to like, subscribe, and repent to Christ before it's too late.